I have made a broken 4-4-3 tactic in FM23, and using it, I was able to get Nottingham Forest into 3rd place. So you probably want to see this tactic, and here it is. Now going through player roles, we start off sweeper, keeper on defend, pretty much my default this year. Right back, full back on support, not something I've used a lot this year, but I found when we had 2 wing backs, we got caught on the counter a lot. So just dropping this to a full back on support has made us a lot better defensively in like the second half of the season. I've got 2 ball playing centre backs. I always just prefer a ball playing centre back, and in the Premier League, all centre backs have a decent enough passing range to be able to be ball playing. Then at left back, I've got a wing back attack. I'll talk more about why I have this when we get to the front 3 and this Mezzala, because it kind of all links together. Moving into defensive midfielder, a deep line playmaker on defend. Originally, this was a deep line playmaker on support, but again, it made us really weak on transitions, and we just conceded so much from them, so I had to change it. Moving forward to the 2 centre mids. First of all, just a default centre mid on support. They'll get involved in the attack. They'll get involved a lot defensively. Just a standard. You could swap this for a box-to-box. I prefer a centre mid on support, but either of those would work. Just someone who will do a lot of everything in that midfield. Then next to him, we have the Mezzala on attack. Now, originally, I had the Mezzala the other side with this inverted winger. They just run into each other. I don't know why I did it. I've done it before. I found it not work before. Yeah, I tried it again. So I swapped him over to this side and had a winger attack, so someone on stay wider, and then the Mezzala will go in between the striker and the winger. And by going in between the striker and the winger can often just get so many chances with those runs. As well as that, the Mezzala has shoot more often on. Moving on to the front 3, I've got a winger on attack, pressing forward on attack, and an inverted winger on support. Now this inverted winger has shoot more often and sit narrower on. This winger has shoot more often on, and the striker also has shoot more often on. Now to show you how this kind of looks in possession, I've put this together, and I would say this is roughly what you're getting when your team has possession. It kind of, at times, it's a front 4 when Lodi's still getting up the pitch, and then if you've retained the ball for long enough and you're high enough up the pitch, it becomes a front 5 with Lodi part of that front 5. And in this front 5, Lodi and Brennan Johnson, or whoever the winger is and whoever the wing back is, stretch the team really wide, and then these 3 all create pressure on the centre, and often against 4 at the backs you'll essentially just be creating an overload, not to mention the centre mid on support comes in late sometimes. Moving over to tactical style, for mentality I went attacking. You could go positive, that would work, but I wanted to go attacking to essentially have that higher tempo, so when there's a turnover of the ball, everyone's rushing forward and we're more vertical with our play. Then moving on to in possession, play out of defence, because I mean, it kind of makes sense. We've got ball-playing defenders. We've got a playmaker to play it into. I think that makes sense. Shorter passing, but a higher tempo. Again, with the attacking mentality, of course, I wanted a higher tempo, because when there's that turnover, I want my players to rush up and to play the ball forward. And then looking into final third, I've gone for lower crosses with this team. You can leave it on mix, depending on what kind of team you have. But a lot of the time, we were playing like Emmanuel Dennis or Brendan Johnson up front. Sometimes Ben Breton Diaz, who I signed. And outside of Awoni, we didn't really have a big aerial presence. So low crosses just work for the set of players I have. And then work ball into the box. With lower crosses and work ball into the box, you end up with like a lot of cutbacks. So that's the thinking behind having work ball into the box. Now for in transition, when the team has lost the ball, counter press. Now for in transition, when we've lost the ball, go and counter press. When we've won the ball, go and counter. And then for keeper distribution, I've just put 2 centre backs, take kick short. Just because if we go long, we're not really set up to win second balls, and we don't really have a big enough aerial presence to go long to. Now for out of possession, we play a high press. We play a higher line. I tried much higher, not worth it. You get caught on transition way too much. Then with triggering the press much more often, prevent short keeper distribution. And with tackling, I've actually got to stay on feet. And that's because with this high press and this higher line, what we're looking to do is force mistakes in the passing more than to actually tackle and like dispossess a player of the ball. So I don't think you really lose too much by putting on stay on feet. Alright, I'm going to show you a few highlights from this tactic and how it plays. But before that, could I ask you, if you enjoy FM content, want to see more of it, consider liking and subscribing. Anyway, here are the highlights. Okay, now I want to show you a few goals that we scored with this tactic. This first one against Newcastle, I think, really illustrates how vertical we are and how quick we are to get up the pitch and how good we are at countering. So if you see here, Newcastle are starting to get the ball up the pitch. They look like they might create something, but we get this turnover, and in just a few passes, Awoni's got a one-on-one, which he does score in this case. But it's how quick we are to get from back to front there after the turnover of play. Now here against Everton, I think is another example of us. So we've just won the ball back and how quick we can be going forward. If you look here, just a few passes, and then again Awoni with a one-on-one, which he does score. Now here's a goal that I think really just shows the late runs of the Mazzala. So again, it comes from us winning the ball back and transitioning really quickly, like most of our goals. But here we play it into Ben Breton Diaz. He's able just to play it off to the Mazzala, who's running in behind, and the defence just can't deal with it. Now here's a goal that I think shows how the high press, if you see there, we forced the keeper to go long because everyone's short's pretty much marked up. And then from winning it back, we're able to do what we've done so many times in the goals I've showed you. Go forward really quickly and have just an overload in the box. As you can see, our DM here on the edge of the area has an open shot, which he's able to convert in this game. But I think you get the idea. We win the ball and then we go forward really quickly. Okay, thank you for watching this video. Click the video on screen right now if you want your teams to play like Pep Guardiola. And thank you for watching.